According to the Department of Health in the state of New York in 2014, the effects of an infectious disease to a young child because they were not immunized could lead to amputation of an arm or leg, paralysis of limbs, hearing loss, blindness, seizures, brain damage, and yes, even death. I'm going to talk today about vaccinating your children. Recently, I've been seeing much in the news about children that were not immunized, and so I've decided to do research on this topic to show the importance of vaccinating. If you're a parent or not, it doesn't matter. These diseases affect all of us if we are not immunized, and it puts us all at a higher risk of contracting a disease. Children should be vaccinated against the diseases, and the best way to do this is to understand the way that the disease starts. Know the facts about the vaccines and educating parents the importance of immunizing their children. I would like to start with you, my audience, who may possibly have a few concerns about children receiving these vaccines. We have just heard about what can happen if a child is not vaccinated, and you may think that was quite extreme. However, in a third world country, this does occur, and we in the U.S. do not have high levels of this because the vaccines are available to us. Let's start by stating what some important knowledge is on the invasion of germs in our bodies and how the vaccines work, including saving lives and costs. Germs, such as viruses and bacteria, invade the body and attack and multiply. The invasion is known as an infection, and this causes the illness. The immune system then has to fight off this infection. After the body fights the infection, the cells are left to help recognize and fight that infection off again in the future. Vaccines reduce the risk of infection, and according to the CDC.gov website, it's the body's natural defense to develop an immunity. Developing immunity is imitating that infection. Vaccines also help save lives and is cost-effective for treatments and outbreaks. There are 2.5 million people that are saved per year through getting a vaccination. Recently, 332 million illnesses will be prevented because of this, as well as 21 million hospital preventions, according to a recent statistic that was released by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Vaccines can be cost-effective. They can save $151 billion worldwide in treatment and lost productivity. Recently, in Arizona, there was a 14-person outbreak that cost $799,136 to contain just those 14 people. Let's just think about that one more time. Germs invade the body, multiply, and then attack the immune system. Cells then are left to fight the disease off in the future, and however, they can help save 2.5 million lives a year, according to the CDC.gov website. There are 16 preventable diseases if we just vaccinate, and the cost alone in loss in productivity and treatment would be $151 billion worldwide in just 1 year. Knowing how these diseases affect the body and the costs involved, there are side effects to wanting to vaccinate and not wanting to vaccinate your children. In discussing the choice to vaccinate or not, let's look at the side effects of both and the other complications of not vaccinating. Without vaccines, you're at a greater risk and subject to greater complications. One could go into mandatory quarantine or isolation. This could cause your child to have to stay home from childcare or school, and if your child is at the school age, this could cause them to fall behind in class. They would also have to limit the interaction with several of their family members. When your child is not vaccinated, they are more susceptible to catch diseases, and if this happens, they become a threat to others as well. They are a risk to children and adults who are exempt from these vaccines. An example of this would be someone who has cancer and is going through treatments, and when they do this, they get a lower immune system, and they are made then more susceptible to be getting an infection. There are some side effects to vaccinating. Most are mild and can go away within a few hours to a few days, and they are very rare to happen. This would include soreness and swelling and redness at the injection site. Also, you can experience achiness, fever, rash as well at that site. Some vaccines can cause severe problems up to 6 months later. These can include blood in the urine or stool, You could develop pneumonia and also inflammation of the stomach or the intestines. Now we know what can happen if a child is vaccinated or not. Not getting vaccinated can cause more serious problems than choosing to vaccinate. Since it is still a choice for parents to get their children vaccinated or not, it is imperative that we educate these parents on the need to get their children vaccinated. Ensuring the safety for parents is very important. The U.S. has had the most effective vaccine supply in history according to the CDC in 2015. All vaccines that are given must have the FDA approval ensuring safety, and vaccines must be also evaluated by trained FDA scientists and doctors before the vaccines are available to anyone in the public. The sites where these vaccines are made must also follow strict guidelines. There are also a few vaccines that are called combination vaccines. These vaccines can help protect against more than one disease at a time with just one single shot. These vaccines have been studied carefully and have been found to be safe and very effective. Educating the fearful parent is important to allow them to make the right decision to vaccinate their children or not. The best way to do this is by overcoming their fears. Physicians and nurses must have an open line of communication with their parents. They need to talk about the vaccine information according to a 2009 Health Style Survey. They need to reassure the parents about the effects and the studies. Another way by doing this is by having the correct research. Letting parents plan out their own schedules for their children to vaccinate and then later seeing how their children were not affected is a great way to do this. Another way is to inform the parents on what the vaccine is for and making sure that they understand what it will protect against. Let's pause for a moment and summarize what we have stated so far. Persuading parents to do something for their children can be tricky, but by ensuring parents about the way that the vaccines are and helping them overcome these fears, they can make educated decisions. So keeping everything in mind we've talked about, making the right decision can become easier for that parent if the right information is given. Let's take a moment to reflect on the main points we have just talked about. Knowing how vaccines affect the immune system, the side effects of vaccinating or not, and educating these parents on the decisions to vaccinate their child will allow parents to make the right decisions for their children. So remember, when your child gets vaccinated, it's not only helping them, but it's helping you, your family, and everyone else around you from suffering through the disease that was prevented by just one simple vaccine.